Hey, hi-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, Senior Bowl opening day kickoff special. Me and Riz together again.
Oh, look at that. We're in the same camera room. How about that?
Like lovers again. So we're back at it. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit down in Mobile, Alabama, doing the Senior Bowl coverage for you. It's going to be a great time. It's already been a great time. Colin and I arrived last night. Colin got hurt. He's better today. He's better now, but he was hurt last night.
He looks good now.
I do that to people. I don't know why.
I'm not looking forward to that.
I don't mean it. All right. I'm your host, Chris. With me is my very good friend and co-host, Jeff Risden. How you doing, my friend?
I'm very good. It's great to be back in Mobile. I missed it last year. This is, I think, my 14th. It's either my 13th or 14th year down here.
13th.
And I missed last year, and I'm sad about that. And I missed it, and it's just walking in today. I saw like 3 or 4 people that I hadn't seen in 2 years, and it's like it's restorative to see these people again.
Yeah.
It really was. It was nice.
It's great to be back. I mean, my number isn't as big as yours, but
yeah,
it's the way it works. But I mean, we saw the entire gaggle of the Detroit press.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All of the local media that you would expect. All the beat writers are down here. Burkett, Rogers, Mikey, Tim Twentyman was there. He asked a good question today. We got to see Brad Holmes. Actually, I got here mid-afternoon today, and as I'm walking in, I picked up my credentials, walked over to Radio Row where we're set up, and less than 3 minutes later, Brad Holmes emerges and gives a press conference. So it was
right in front of us.
Great timing.
Yeah. Imagine that. All right, let's see. We're going to talk about Brad Holmes' press conference. We're going to talk about the weigh-in. We're going to do a preview of what's to come this week, where we are, what to expect. We're going to tell you to buy CBD. We're going to tell you to go to Amazon. We got a whole lot of stuff lined up for a great show today. Riz, are you ready to go, my man?
Let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. Getting right back into it. Here we go. Don't look scared, Riz. Do anything but look scared. All right. So we're going to rock and roll. This is a little bit first time with a bunch of new equipment on the road, so it took us a little longer to get started.
I got to say, this is like, we could do a casting couch later, but this is like serious professional lighting and audio production and everything.
We'll see. We'll see how it works.
Yeah.
It's baling wire and duct tape so far, but I think we got it.
The light is like straight out of, it's better than your high school has it for its local, productions. Yeah,
it's not a ring light. It's not a ring light.
It is not. It is not a ring light.
All right, let's start. Brad Holmes. I mean, we got together. We finally got to see each other for the first time in a while. Mm-hmm. Riz shows up. We got Colin with us, and he'll be on a couple of the programs this week as well. He's helping us out, doing great work for us. Thank you, Colin.
Yes.
Riz, we got to do our reunion for literally 5 minutes.
Not even.
And
yeah.
And all of a sudden, we see all the Detroit press walking up towards us. And we're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Why are they coming to us?
Yeah. Dan Miller's like, camera guy, now.
That was Jeff. There's another Jeff.
That's right.
Jeff is amazing. I mean, he is a 2-legged tripod.
His ability to hold that camera steady, like it's not an unsubstantial camera. It's like he's here and he's got the gear pack back here, so
big battery pack.
Yeah, and like he's doing it.
It was great. So all the guys were there. Brad just started going. We got some 3 angles of video. We got the whole thing. We hadn't even really set up. We were there just to kind of scope and do some recon for the setup first, and everything came together really well. We got to reunite and do that, and so that was cool. Riz went back to his room. Now we're here. Let's talk about Brad Holmes. I want to start first with the first question that was asked, because I felt like it got it off to the presser off to not the best start.
It was a little awkward. It was it was a question that had to be asked based on the market demands, with Matthew Stafford being in the Super Bowl, and it was the trade, I think, actually went down exactly 1 year ago today.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was finalized that Jared Goff was coming here and Matthew Stafford was going there. And so this would be the 1-year anniversary. It's the day after Matthew Stafford didn't have a great game, but finished it very well and got the Rams to the Super Bowl. So so he was asked, what his thoughts were on it.
Yeah, and the question ends where Dave's asking why was it something that needed to be done, and Brad's response is pretty telling. So here we go. We'll get Brad's response for you.
Well, he asked for a trade. He didn't, he asked for a trade, and I think it worked out for both sides. Stafford's a good player, and the Rams are a good team. So it worked out for them, and in exchange we got compensation that can help us along the way. So I'm not surprised by their success that they've had, or his success. At the end of the day, I got a lot of great respect for those people in that organization with the Rams. They have the leadership, to really go far. And they have a really intentional build that they've been doing for years. So, when you're building it for that long, and then you have a piece like him, I'm not surprised with success. But right now, all we can do is stay in the present, for where we're at right now. So, the Rams, congrats to them. It's an accomplishment.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he went on a little bit about the Rams there, but he very quickly, and this is something we talked about and have had to kind of punch down a little bit throughout the year. People, when they, especially early this season, when they were down on Holmes, they were down on MCDC, they kept saying, "Well, we traded away Matthew Stafford." We did not trade Matthew Stafford.
Right. Stafford demanded to be traded. I don't think that word gets used with emphasis enough. Would he have stayed? Like if he wanted out. Like he made that clear. And the more that he's talked with the Los Angeles media, if you follow along with the people like the Sam Farmers of the world, Cam De Silva at Ramswire has talked to him a few times. He was done with Detroit. Like he realized that it just wasn't going to happen. It was made very clear to me personally right after the trade went down last year, that he had zero interest in being part of a rebuild. He did not want to be a guy who was grooming his eventual successor.
You've had enough of that shit.
Yeah, that was his basic response to that. I love
grooming.
Hit the button.
Grooming has a whole new meaning these days. It
really does.
I hate that. I hate that when they go away like that.
Got my guy from Megadeth kicked out of the band.
Yeah.
How sad is that? Well,
yeah.
So the Matthew Stafford wasn't going to be back with the Detroit Lions in 2021 is the long and the short of it. Mm-hmm. And that's clearly Brad's take.
Right.
Brad made it clear last year when he was hired. Sheila, actually, when she talked to us after the trade, I forget when that was. But she, it was clear that they interviewed all their GM candidates, not just Brad, but the other guys, mm-hmm. and the head coaches, that they brought up that Matthew Stafford might not be back. Like, how would you handle, okay, the first thing that you have to do is you've got to trade Matthew Stafford. Like, you've got to trade the best player on the team, the most marketable player. What's your plan with that? Obviously, Brad answered that fairly effectively because he got the job. And he was not, by the way, the front runner going into it. So I think that his vision for what happened meshed with what the team wanted to do. He certainly got the best value that he could for it. And, he's clearly not bitter. Like, he's not really like, oh, God, yeah, He understood that Matthew Stafford was not going to be part of the Detroit Lions in the future. And he did the best that he could to get that and put Stafford, and he talked about it. Putting Stafford in a situation where he could succeed, but also where the Lions could claim a win out of it, and getting the first round draft picks that they did, and getting Jared Goff he considers that a giant win.
I know you're not part of Goff mania. You're not a JG16 subscriber or anything like that, but you do subscribe to Grizzly Man Outdoors, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Took me a second, but yes, I do.
Jared Goff, I think, we'll see. There's still more to be told. And that's what's so interesting about this whole thing, right? There's two kind of key pieces. One, Jared Goff, end of year Jared Goff, or if you've listened to the show, we brought the stats of Jared Goff with Quintez Cephas and Josh Reynolds. And then without one of those two. And they're significantly different Jared Goffs. Significantly different.
Yeah, I mean, he had the what was it, the 76 passing yards in the one game?
Yeah.
It's brutal.
They're absolutely. He's a different animal. He had some weapons, and they're not even top tier weapons. These aren't like standout number one guys, and yet Jared Goff can perform with that. When he has nothing to work with, it's troublesome.
I think the idea of having guys that could do what he does well, and that's sort of what Cephas and Reynolds do. They're kind of the same guy. They're really good in that like 8 to 15 yard range at getting open. They can do it over the middle. They can do it on the outside. He trusts them to. He throws a good ball.
Yeah,
that's never been a question. He throws an accurate football.
We were and look. We love Matthew Stafford and all that, but we saw some of his throws bouncing off of hands again, right? I mean, Jared Goff, there was one in the end zone that came in and it literally ricocheted off the receiver's hands. And I'm like, Jared Goff throws that ball if he can hit it, right? which is a little bit different. But if he throws that ball sticks to the guy's hands, right? He throws a really catchable ball.
That's something that the Rams, when they lost him, Sean McVay talked about that. You know, he tried not to slam Goff on the way out, to his credit. I applaud McVay for doing that, but he talked about, you know, it is going to be a different experience for our receivers because Jared Goff throws a very comfortably catchable ball. Anybody who's listened to this podcast for any amount of time knows that Matthew Stafford, that's not one of he doesn't have that club in the bag.
Yeah. And I mean, if you've seen Sandman's pictures, you have to have soft hands. But so you think about some of the other stuff. We got Jared Goff. I believe he's going to be a better quarterback than he got credit for early this year. He's taken a team to the Super. You know what? As of right now, Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff are just as good as one another. They've gotten just as far. I know Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback, but right, we got the very, very best deal we could have at the time bringing Jared Goff in. And then when you look at the draft picks we got out of this is where this thing is going to get weird. Because if you say right now, everyone wants to know who won the trade. Well, the Rams did because they're in the freaking Super Bowl, right? I mean, right now.
Yeah, but and Brad alluded to it though today. Like, there are different places and different times, different stages of the team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 years from now. I mean, who won the Super Bowl 4 years ago?
Philadelphia.
Yeah. Okay. We got to think about it, right? I mean, most people are like, and rattling for it. I did it, Colin, last night. Now we were a couple in, right? But the thing is it's great right now. But in a couple years, when that team's trash and they've fallen apart, people aren't really going to remember that. And if this works the way it's supposed to with these draft picks, we can wrap up. I don't know if we get a quarterback this year. I don't know if we get one next year. We have to see how Jared does, how he fits within the rest of the team. That's still all kind of be determined, but we'll see how this team goes. And it very well could be in 3 years, 4 years, this team is in the same place that the Rams are today as a result of that move. Who won the trade then?
Right. They could be.
They're massively
They could
rebuilding.
be where the Bengals are right now. Yeah. Bengals had the number 1 overall pick in 2019. They friggin' nailed it. Or 2020. 2020. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2019, They were the worst team in the league. So the 2020 draft, they got Joe Burrow. Look where they're at now.
And that's what that's what Matthew Stafford was supposed to do for the Lions.
Yes, and it didn't happen. So, not to diverge, but I'll do this quickly. There was a lot of talk about why Matthew Stafford couldn't do it with the Lions. They never started. My theory on this, and this is something that Sean Belegian and I used to talk about back on 96.1 back in the day in Grand Rapids when I first moved back up to Michigan, was when the team was ready to win, Matthew Stafford wasn't.
Yes.
When Stafford was ready to win, the team wasn't. More specifically, the coachings that he had. The last year of Caldwell, where Caldwell did a crap job. I caught myself there, trying to be family friendly. and then Patricia, I mean, come on, dude. Yeah. Yeah. So the time didn't, like, the defense that they had with Kyle Vandenbosch, with Ndamukong Suh, with that group that they had, that team was ready to win in 2011, 2012, 2013. Calvin was on that team. The offensive line was okay. Stafford wasn't there yet. That's the era where people got into the Stat Padford crap.
Yeah.
Because he would be very inconsistent. I remember, I forget which year it is, but he had a year where he had the lowest quarterback rating in the second quarter of any quarterback. And like, you can't have that when you're Matthew Stafford is the number 1 overall pick, running on that.
You've had enough of that shit.
With the contract that he had. So once Stafford evolved into being the guy that can take a team to the Super Bowl, the Lions weren't ready, and the coaching staff went to hell. And it was ships passing in the night, man.
Yep. Now you look at Joe Burrow, and he's obviously ready. Is the team ready to beat the Rams? I don't know. That's not why my prediction lies.
I didn't think they were going to beat the Chiefs.
So. Great point. But Joe Burrow certainly seems ready. He knows how to pull out a cigar.
That dude,
right? I mean, my guy.
Dude.
I like Joe Burrow a lot.
I like Joe Burrow a lot too.
I like him a lot.
Athens, Ohio's finest.
Yeah, truly the finest.
Yes.
All right. Also, Brad Holmes was asked a little bit about the team, and he did a little jag about Amon-Ra St. Brown. And when he talked about it, if you close your eyes when he's talking about St. Brown and talks about the qualities that make St. Brown so great and kind of what they're looking for in receivers, you can hear Dan Campbell's voice emerging. If you want to hear two guys that are on the same page, this is it. And we got it for you right here. We'll go ahead and get this on.
It's just a tough, gritty group that's about perseverance, and whether it's wide receiver, whether it's defensive perimeter or skill in the back and whatever it is. That's what I've always said about St. Brown is that when we selected him, I know there was a lot made about draft a receiver, and then when we draft receiver, but it was him. It was him because he fit what we're all about. He's a gritty, tough, physical player but he is explosive. He does reach those core traits that we're looking for. He's smart, he's physical, he's instinctive, he's relentless, he's explosive. So he's a good fit.
So I guess as you go,
there you go. Really, really. I mean, like I said, sounds like you're listening to Dan Campbell there.
It does, and that's again where they have picked up one another's mannerisms a little bit. If you hear him, Brad Holmes never used to say the phrase "cut from the same cloth." Now he said it today. That's a Dan Campbell, whatever it is, and so they're spending a lot of time together. For two guys that hadn't ever worked together, and I don't remember if they had met before they were thrown together in Detroit. They are a really in sync pairing. It's better than the Backstreet Boys. It's in sync.
Ooh, ouch.
NKOTB, baby. Saw them at the Ohio State Fair in 1988. Things we do for love.
Yeah. Hey, Twitter, everyone that was on there, thanks a lot for all the love as we went live here. Excited to see you guys as well, and gals. All right, let's talk also about, and so just to finish that up, I mean, they are absolutely on the same page. You can tell that Brad and MCDC spend a lot of time together, speaking, understanding what each other is thinking, and then, telling you the same thing. I mean, this is really the kind of alignment you want in a management team.
And it's cool that they're a unified front without forcing it. You can tell. One of the things that I'll harken back to the Bill O'Brien Texans for a little bit when he was working with Rick Smith, who was the general manager who got Google it, kids. It was a weird situation, but it was clear that they just didn't like each other and they had very different goals, and that's one of the things that held that team that roster. 2016, 2017, that's one of the best rosters in football, especially the year they got Deshaun Watson. They couldn't win, and a lot of that was because there was discord between the management and the coaching staff and a couple of the star players on that team, for that matter. They were all just in different directions. You don't get any sense of that at all with these Lions. They are without they're not coordinating. Oh, what shoes are we going to wear today so we match when we go to middle school? It's more they have that same mindset, and they know what their common goal is, and they're working in their ways to achieve it, and that they realize that they're better doing that together than they are, pulling in different directions. Yeah,
absolutely. And look, if you ever need a diagnosis,
Dr. Riz right here for you. I got your back, folks.
I said that? When did I say that?
A couple of years ago. Dr. Riz. All right. One other thing that Brad Holmes talked about and was very clear in making the point, an offensive coordinator has not been hired.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty curt about that. It has to come up. They don't have one. The guy that
they have one for the Senior Bowl.
They do, and is Ben Johnson, the tight ends coach, and we have been hammering for a long time, Chris, especially you, because you you spread your dust on this, was that he's going to be the offensive coordinator. Apparently, they're not ready to produce that or declare that yet, which is sad for me because I pre-wrote that Ben Johnson is hired as the offensive coordinator like a week and a half ago.
Just keep it.
It's still in the queue.
Just keep it. Yep.
Can't hit publish yet.
Just keep it. You'll be using it. It'll be after the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
Brad made it clear that he didn't want any further questions upon that this week too.
Yep.
And we will. It might not be like where he's talking to all of us, but there will be opportunities where like Burkett or Rogers or us or whoever's here. I know Chris Burke was here today, and we talked to him for a little bit, and I know he knows Brad well. We're going to get time with him that will more than likely be off the record, but he's not going to let that slip. One of the things,
we're not going to press him live on that either.
No,
That's there's things that you can talk about, and things you can't talk about, and we recognize those things.
One of the things that I learned from covering John Dorsey, who's the senior assistant to Brad Holmes, and clearly has an influence upon him. When Dorsey was the GM in Cleveland, and we talked about this, he sets the honeypots and the traps and everything. He's also really very good at not saying anything that could possibly be held against him later. John Dorsey was a master of that. And Brad,
he's no Nixon.
Yeah, there's a lot of plumbing going on. There's now I'm distracted. But Dorsey, like, you could never find out what Dorsey was really thinking on something. I'll go back to the draft of 2018 where they had the number 1 overall pick. The Browns beat writers who were in the building did not know until about noon that day that Baker Mayfield was going to be the pick.
One of them still doesn't know.
She tries hard.
Sorry.
But yeah, so that's so if you're looking for us to come out of this week like thinking, oh, Malik Willis will be their pick at 2 or 29 or 30, I guess 31 or 32 or whatever, we're not going to know that. Nobody's going to know that. That's just not the way that does, and I wouldn't be surprised if different things are said to different people so they can find out who's talking to whom as well.
Yep.
And I will try to be wary of that, and I will try to let my people who are friends in the business know that as well. The enemies can
protect your sources.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As Nathan Zagura, who hosts the Cleveland Browns Daily Show, which is awesome if you're ever a Browns fan, and you would know who Nate is. He's also their sideline reporter. He's like, you only burn the doors once, and then you're done. So I wouldn't expect to know what's going to happen on the quarterback front until April. We're going to get another crack at Holmes. The combine starts a month from tomorrow, March 1st. March 1st and March 2nd are the days where the general managers and the coaches will be talking. I am planning on being there. I hope so. I hope it works out logistically. It might not, but I plan on being there, and that's generally where you get the best information and where you get the most leads. Like to Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia's credit, the last time I was down there, the combine was closed in 2021 to media, but in 2020, they were pretty open and willing to talk to us in the media as a cluster, but also like individually. I got a few good minutes with Bob Quinn one day, and he's shared some things that proved prescient come April, and that tends to happen there when they see that you're there. Like Senior Bowl. And I don't mean to disrespect the Senior Bowl in any way. It's easier to get credentialed for the Senior Bowl than it is to be credentialed at the Combine. And that, you pretty much have to be a Pro Football Writers PFWA member to get in, or have been a beat writer or like a serious radio personality. Those are pretty much the only people to get there. So there's more of a level of like they trust your professionalism there. So if you're looking for like which quarterback they like the best. We'll have hints this week. We'll have teases about it. Like we'll learn things, but we will really learn it then. So if you're looking for us to come out this week and be like, oh, Sam Howell at 2, book it. That isn't how this works.
Well, we'll see. It's still new. It's the first time they're at the Senior Bowl. They may just slip it all up.
You never know.
But that being said,
you never know.
one thing you will be interested in. those who are on Twitter know. I think I tweeted it. I don't know. We flew in with a couple of folks on the plane into Mobile. One of whom was none other than Malik Willis.
Yeah, you and Colin got with him.
That's awesome. We did, and he's committed to doing an interview with us this week. So we'll have Malik on at some point this week. Look, if he doesn't stop by, right, then that's something different. But he said he would, and we're right in the location for him. So I think we're in good shape. We'll make that happen.
He was Chris Burke got a picture of him today wearing a Lions hat about town. So that's pretty darn sweet.
Absolutely. So Malik, we also have Dan Bellinger, who has talked about, and he's a really interesting cat for the Lions in particular.
He's somebody that they like, the tight end H-back from San Diego State. He's a good one. If you're looking for somebody to be better than Brock Wright in that spot,
there you go. Talk to him and talk to him a good bit, actually. Colin found him, talked to him, and then I met up my plane got in, we met up at the gate. Spent some time with Dan, talking, got some good stuff. He's a really, really good guy. You can tell, just a really cool cat. So that was really good. I do want to really quickly say congratulations to Jonah Jackson. Did you hear about that?
No.
Right? Pro Bowl.
He made it.
Yes. He made it.
There's another thing I have to write tonight.
Jonah Jackson, congratulations for making the Pro Bowl. Very, very good.
I left home at 4:20 a.m. today. Took two flights and then took a 2.5 hour drive here from New Orleans. That I was delayed at the Avis counter. I was there for 95 minutes in line at the Avis counter at the New Orleans airport. Y'all hire more people, please.
Oh my goodness! All right,
frustrating. I am not somebody who like flings poo in those situations, but I do get impatient because I worked in customers. I managed the front desk of hotels, one similar to this one, this fine establishment, and I understand the demands of the job that they're on. Damn y'all, that's management.
I'll fling a little bit of poo. I was 1 pound over on a bag. 1 pound over
1 pound
on a bag. Literally 1 pound. Coming here, paid for first class ticket. Platinum elite status.
Wow.
Right? With the airline.
Damn.
1 pound over. They charged me $200 for the bag. They wouldn't slip 1 pound. And I'm like, I know you can do it. I've seen it happen before. You can do it. I always fly underweight, but I'm bringing a studio with me, right? I mean, it's like,
there's a lot of gear in it. We're not even in your room, and there's a lot of gear here.
And it's like, come on, 1 pound. I know you have the latitude to do that. Nope. Delta, send her over to Spirit or something. Fire her. She was terrible. Terrible person.
I had a very bad experience with Delta in Hartford Airport one time. If you're ever in the Hartford Airport, kick Jose in the nuts for me.
Yeah, no, she was terrible, and whatever. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I like Delta
of our
generally.
Travel travails.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the senior.
All right. Speaking of Malik Willis, let's just talk about the weigh-in and what we learned today from the players.
Yes.
And I want to start first with cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com, because when you have your travel pain, what do you need to do?
You need to get some CBD oil on you.
That's right, my friend. Hit your CBD up.
Heat it right
Delta 8.
Right here.
Yeah. Delta 8. You got your active CBD for the places where Delta 8's not allowed. They've found a way that they can do what you do when you do. And there's great stuff. You want to buzz. If you don't want to buzz, if you just want to feel better, there's regular oil and the creams that work awesome. There's not the chill line. The chill line is the get you high stuff, but it's all available for you. It's a great partner, Diamond CBD. They have great quality, top shelf stuff. And again, I've heard from folks in the Slack and elsewhere. The guy went to the local shop and got it. It wasn't as efficacious as the Diamond stuff. Diamond's got really good stuff. Go to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com, cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. Hook yourself up. Take care of your head, take care of your body, and help the show a little bit along the way. All right, the weigh-in. I've got a list here Colin put together very quickly. Thank you, Colin.
Colin is awesome.
He's the king, man.
Love that guy. We share a birthday, so I knew he would be awesome. We share it with Patrick Mahomes, too. We're having a better week than he is.
So the weigh-in was not public.
It was not. We did not get to watch the guys walk up on stage in their underwear which
just sad.
honest to God, as weird as it is one of the highlights of coming here because you do get to see different body types.
It helps so much to focus
really
on specific guys. For me, the athleticism, when like Jerry Jacobs is a prime example where he is ripped like crazy, which you don't usually see somebody rocked up like he is at cornerback, and that would be a question mark for me, right?
Yeah.
Then we see him perform, and it was different, but. That you see, like for different positions, like I would have my ratings were all funny, right? But I would say, oh, country strong because he's a little fluffy, right?
Yeah.
he's a big
Ragnar
fluffy
was
guy.
like that. Country strong.
Yeah. And so that's kind of, I mean, you have your ways to see it, and then okay, at what position are they, and is country strong okay there? Do they traditionally perform well there, or do you need rocked up Jerry Jacobs? In that kind of position. So it was just such a great indicator of who to really, I mean,
you could also tell like who's really taking their training seriously and the guy, no, it doesn't always translate.
Hunter
Renfrow is a good example of that. Cornelius Washington is a good example in the opposite direction. That guy walked out on the stage and people were like, whoa, like that's the guy that everybody at the gym is trying to be like. Didn't mean he could play a lick of football. He couldn't, but damn, he looked good.
So we go to the list. We've got quarterbacks here, and they're ranked by their measurements.
Fascinating development today.
Yes. Now, if I go through the quarterbacks and I look at arms, wings, and so on, right? Top of the list, Malik Willis, 6 foot 3/8, 220, hand. 9 4/8.
Yep.
We got his arms at 31 6/8 and his wingspan of 77 3/8.
All right, that's decent. That's actually a good arm length for his height.
Mm-hmm.
The hands, no problem there at all.
I've heard that before.
Oh, it's gonna be a long week.
Just can't say something like that.
I know. So one of the things that stood out to me, we'll go on to the next one. Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky, the exact same height as Malik Willis, 6'003", which in parlance is like 6 foot and 1/4 inch, or one somewhere in there. I'm really bad at fractional math. 213 pounds. Has big hands, 9 and 6/8 or 9 3/4, whatever that is. So that's we're having fun here. Sorry. That's a really, those are big hands. Like that's like like I got big hands. Those are bigger than mine. Arm length 31 and 1/4, not bad. Wingspan 75. Like the big thing here is the 3 quarterbacks that are on the Lions roster. You got Bailey Zappi, Malik Willis, and Sam Howell. Zappi is just as big as Willis and actually bigger than Howell. I don't think anybody expected that coming in here because one of the knocks on Zappi, he's small. He doesn't weigh enough. Like not looking at. He's almost the exact same size as Malik Willis.
Go ahead. Finish your thought. I got something.
Which is not something that I think a lot of people expected. I think that Zappi is either bigger than you expected or Willis is smaller than you expected.
Okay.
And then there's Kenny Pickett.
Let's talk about Kenny,
because that's Kenny Pickett.
That's the one thing when we used to get the grid of all the players and had their measurements on there, and that's what I was looking for all day today. That's the one piece of information I was looking for. We got it when we got back to the hotel here and saw it. I wanted to know how big Kenny Pickett's hands were because everyone's talking about how small they are, but it was an unofficial measurement, right? It was, and I forget where it came from, but it came from
it was like
underneath a boathouse somewhere,
or 8 1/4 or something like that. Yeah. And that's that. So he is a legit 6'3". He nailed that right on the nose. And he was. Let me look at it here. I'm using
6'3 1/4.
I'm using Draft Countdown's tracker, by the way.
Check them out.
They're good people. We will have Mr. Deep Fried Draft by Brian Bosarge, who runs one of the guys who runs it, and he's a local in Mobile. He will come on the show later this week.
Great.
Great guy. Gives us barbecue tips. He needs to try some Smoothie King, Brian. get on that. But Pickett, so 6'0", 217. That's very well built.
Yep.
Where the hand?
Did not measure.
N.A.
Did not measure.
Not
Now, what in the heck is going on if you're Kenny Pickett? Everyone says there's a problem with those hands, and talk about what that means. But you got a problem with that. Especially with the connotation of what it means, right?
Right.
You want to clarify, right? You want to fix that. Not to mention for as a quarterback, right? But you want to pull that out. You want that fixed and clarified as soon as possible. And then here we are, and he shows up and he does not measure. Now he had a reason, right?
I forget what the exact excuse. There's something about him being double jointed, and he's working on not being. I don't know how that happens. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a kinesiologist, so I don't know how that works. But apparently, you can keep your joints from going out. I don't know. My hands are messed up. I got volleyball hands. So.
Hitting the G. I just think that the inability of him to come just to get a measurement, right?
Even just get it measured.
Get it measured again at the combine, right? Say, look, I'm getting it measured here, but I got this problem going on with my hands. It's the double joint thing. You'll see at the combine, it'll be fine. But the fact that he can't or won't even get on, it just is worrisome. Now, Jim Nagy says, and he tweets, "You people that are worried about this, you're fools." There's no problem with that, right? You can rest assured. I forget how it was said.
Yeah,
I got no problem there.
Jim was being pretty direct about it, not in a friendly manner.
Right.
Yeah, which is fine. That's
Jim was busy today. You could tell
was.
He was very
I didn't
cordial.
Even see him, but yeah,
but he was really busy.
Well, this is his week, man. This is his Super Bowl.
Spends 51 weeks putting this together, right?
Yeah.
So
we love you, Jim. We really do.
Absolutely do. Yeah. So he's he talked about it, said that it's not a big deal, and he did play in the weather
in Pittsburgh.
Let's not forget
in that god awful field that they use for every friggin' game that gets played in the state of Pennsylvania. It seems like. Learn to say no, Heinz Field crew. Or build an auxiliary stadium somewhere near there that's functional.
It's all about ketchup laundering. That's really what it's all about.
It's a great stadium. Like Pittsburgh, their sports their sports teams aren't always great. I've been to a Pirates game. I've been in Heinz Field, not for a Steelers game. I was there for a Pitt game. Great places to see games. It's a really cool vibe. The fields are nice. It's nice architecture. Good places to eat. You can go up to the Strip, but they just. Every friggin' game in the state of Pennsylvania gets played there or Philadelphia. It's weird. That's why their field always sucks.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why Pickett might not have wanted it, though, they did measure his arms. So he's 6'3", so he is the tallest quarterback. No, Carson Strong is taller. Carson Strong is 6'0", 3'6", and 226.
Mm-hmm.
Pickett is 6'0", 3'2", 217. So Strong's arms are 31 and 5/8. That's actually pretty short for that height. Pickett has the shortest arms here by a lot. 3058. That's under 31 inches at 6'3".
Which again makes you think that the hands probably didn't grow either.
They're probably commensurate with that. I'll go to Tajay Sharp, who was a wide receiver coming out of where was he out of? That's not important. He had really, really small hands. He was at the Shrine game several years ago, and his hands were 7 3/4, and it doomed him to being a later round pick. He's from UMass. And he also had really short arms, and that was this is not good for Pickett. Obviously, he's learned how to overcome it and everything, but the Packers are famous for having their athletic benchmarks for players. Like they do not draft corners that are under. I think they've actually changed it now that McCarthy's gone or Ted Thompson's gone, but. There are standards that you have, and if you're not at those, you better have a really compelling game reason why somebody would want to draft you when you don't meet the athletic standards. And Pickett's so I come from the world of volleyball. I'm 6'0", 4'7". My arms are 35 and 3/4 inches long. and they're not long enough in volleyball. So, like, obviously it's a different sport. You're doing different things. You're reaching over your head and everything. But one of the things that I learned was proportionality for your arms. Like, there was somebody who was 6'8", and his arms were only 34 inches long. Like, that's really short for that. Like, people are talking, 34-inch arms. Well, he's 6'8". Like, that's...
Yeah. The proportionality is...
proportionality. And that's what you're looking for, and he doesn't have that. And that's... It doesn't mean anything in evaluating what he does throwing the ball, but like it does matter. It absolutely matters to the teams, probably more than it matters than you think it would matter.
And this is going to be a really great experiment because he's going to get drafted, and he's going to be
the first quarterback drafted,
and he's going to play.
I absolutely believe he's still the first quarterback drafted.
But it's going to be extremely interesting because if he can beat that. And he can be the guy, if you will, that shows that hand size is not a limiting factor in the NFL because he's a highly effective quarterback. There's going to be some rethinking about what hand size means at that position, and maybe the guys that they took a flyer on just weren't good quarterbacks comparatively.
And that's where you get into that whole thing. Like he is taller than Russell Wilson, and his arms are 3 inches shorter. And we're going to say that his hand, because Russell Wilson has ginormous hands. I think they're 10 inches. He's at least 2 inches smaller than on that. That's going here to here, and yeah. My hands are. I need new hands.
Yeah, me too.
Volleyball is rough on your hands. Only broken 7 on my fingers.
Let's talking about wingspan. Fab had a good question in the chat. Does wingspan matter? I thought it was interesting that Malik is 3 inches shorter in height than Pickett, but has a wingspan 5 inches longer.
It can. It doesn't matter as much for a quarterback. That's the sort of thing you're looking at.
Change
for
release
linemen.
It all?
It can.
I would think because if you think about the lever action, right? There's more distance to move, right?
Yeah. So having the longer wingspan isn't necessarily an advantage as
Schofield,
a quarterback.
where is he when you need him?
He'll be here. He's actually on a plane coming here right now.
There you go.
We'll have Mark later this week.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a good question for him. We will ask Mark that about the wingspan because he does not have a big wingspan. Mark did play quarterback in college. He's not
but not in the pros. See,
correct.
Wingspan matters. There it is. There's your data.
There you go.
One data point. We drew a line.
It is something that wingspan tends to be more important for defensive linemen, offensive linemen, tight ends, wide receivers especially if they have short arms. I can't. Dean Lowry, y'all know who he is. Plays for the Packers.
Yep.
He has a absurdly long neck, and his shoulders are like down like that. Like he does. It's a very weird build, but he had a ridiculously small wingspan. But he made it work because it made his arms like super long for his size. Like you can do it with different body types. You just have to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's I think the biggest news from the weigh-in. Was there anything else we wanted to cover about the weigh-in itself?
It was disappointing not being there. One guy, and perhaps a candidate to be the first defensive player from here taken, probably isn't going to be because of how he measured, and that was Roger McCreary, the cornerback from Auburn. He measured in at, let me find it here. I think he was 5'11", I want to say. Dun, dun, dun. Where's he at? There it is. 5'11", 189, 8 7/8 hands, 29-inch arms, 70-inch wingspan. He had the smallest hands and smallest wingspan of any cornerback here. And his wingspan was the smallest by quite a bit. I don't see anybody else below 74. Yeah. How's that guy? Wow, Tariq Carpenter, over 80 with the wingspan.
Yeah.
6'2", 225. He's a safety, so that's a little bit different. But yeah, Zion McCollum, 74 inches is the next shortest guy in terms of wingspan. So, and his arms are 31 1/8. That's not good for Roger McCreary. Look, that guy balled out. If you watch the Auburn-Alabama game, he had a hell of a game, and he's got a few of those on tape. And this is a guy that's often considered in that 20 to 32, that last 12, 15 picks of the first round. At that size, It ain't going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter how good he is. That is not going to meet the minimum standards that too many teams are going to have, especially in that range of the draft. So that's a guy, if you want to do the, quote, winners and losers, Roger McCreary, easy for me to say, Roger McCreary from Auburn is unfortunately on the losers column right now for that. He'll get a chance to make it up. He's really, really good on the field. I am looking forward to watching him go out, and he is on the American team. The American team wide receivers, other than Jalen Tolbert, quite honestly, don't excite me all that much. So I'm curious as to how these cornerbacks, because the cornerbacks are really good. Like, the American team got the best corners. They got the 3 best corners that are in Mobile all on the Lions team.
Yep.
Which is a little awkward because the Lions don't necessarily need a cornerback. They need a safety. They need 2 safeties, especially if Tracy Walker doesn't come back. Then they need 3. But yeah, and there's the safeties. They're not. I'm open-minded on what I'm going to see from the safeties here, and safeties are a difficult position to evaluate here because you can't tackle, and that's a big part of what you have them do. But you can see them in coverage, you can see them blitzing, you can see their instincts, you can see their movement and flow. They're not. They don't make me all that excited. The dude from Toledo's okay. I think he's draftable. I'm not sure that the other guys are even going to get drafted.
Tariq Woolen. He's a guy that
he's got some ability.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how he's going to handle the tight ends on the American roster. Really good. Grant Calcaterra is going to be someone that we're going to have a discussion about. This is a guy who medically retired on his own from Oklahoma. Took 2 seasons, I believe it was 2 full seasons off. Wound up at SMU. SMU throws the ball around all the time. They have 2 wide receivers on the team, and they have Grant Calcaterra as the tight end here. He was a legit, this guy's gonna start in the NFL when he was at Oklahoma. There's no doubt about it. I'm fascinated to see how his week goes. He's not a blocker, but he's a great receiver. He's a different kind of Oklahoma tight end than Mark Andrews if you're looking for that sort of a comparison.
Yep. There you go. All right. So there you go. There's the weigh-in. Let's talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl itself. Do a quick preview on it. Where we are, what to expect. First off, how about that real estate, my friend?
It's very nice. Very nice. We are in a prime location.
Yes. Wednesday morning, I starting at 8 Central, or 7. It's 7 the breakfast starts, right? Oh my gosh.
I hope
7:30. 7:30 it is. 7:30, so 8:30 Eastern. It starts the media breakfast where you have access to all of the players.
Yeah. It used to be a dinner. They had it out on the battleship that's here in Battleship Park.
Old Battle Axe.
Yeah. And you used to go out there and you would crowd around, and it was very it was a dinner that was on Monday nights. That was the reason to come in Monday night. Mm-hmm. They haven't done that for a few years now since who was that guy? He's Ryan Switzer, wide receiver from North Carolina, had never been on a boat. He'd never seen ocean water before, and he gave some very interesting quotes that night. Let me tell you. But they haven't done it out there for a few years now, and that now I like the breakfast. It's in a giant ballroom in the Mobile Convention Center that we are right across the hall, right across the walkway from the main entrance for it.
Yeah. So we will be there. We have access to all 130 players, and the first part we will have our good friend Colin work in the room and bringing folks out to us on Radio Row for interviews. If they become less likely or easy to extract, we'll get in there, and we'll probably do some streaming live from in there as well.
That's the hope anyway.
Yeah. So watch the YouTube. I mean, a lot of player interactions on Wednesday morning. A lot from the Lions on Thursday. We'll have a lot of coverage from them. Justin Rogers, Dan Miller will be coming earlier in the week as well. We saw them both today. Talked to them. They're great guys. Eric Woodyard, talked to him. He's going to start making some appearances and joining us. He's he was such a step up over there. Such a great hire.
I saw who he replaced today too.
Yeah, I did too, and just kind of chuckled to myself. Alone again. So yeah, we'll have them on, and that'll be really good. prime location. We've got a couple of things already set up with some of the players, so those will come in. And again, as we've talked about before, you really need to subscribe and hit the button, the bell there, because we don't have times for when these things will happen. We knew the time that this was going to happen with the most notice that we'd have had for anything.
Yeah, a lot of the interactions are going to be very impromptu. Like I ran into John Ledyard from the Draft Network today, just walking out. Like he was walking out a door, I was walking in. We wound up spending 5 minutes talking. And he will do the show, but it's just a matter of logistically, like, we got to be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's hard to manage that because we do have a lot of, for those of us who write for a living, this is a very busy week. So and then we still want to experience the best of the Loda Beer Garden and
we closed it last night.
I wish I was there. I walked by the. What's that? It's like frozen. It's frozen cocktails.
Wet Willie's.
Yeah, that's it. I walked by there on the way
Superman.
over to the hotel here. I'm staying in a different hotel, and it was pretty darn packed. And I'll never forget George Foster looking at us, former Lions lineman, walking by. He's like, we all like held our drinks up. He's like, all right. He almost came in.
Yeah. So funny. No, that was because it was Mac Robinson. It was like 104 below zero too.
Oh, it was so cold.
It was so cold, and we're drinking these frozen slushy drinks in like 14 layers of, and just
I got the pina colada and the banana daiquiri mixed in the same glass. That was good. We might have to go there again.
Yeah. They made the one they made for me was. It's like Superman. Yeah. So it was the cable car mixed with blue something, but they were both 190 proof Everclear drinks. Powerhouses. Delicious. You had the only thing that that really kind of affected me was how cold they were, the brain freeze, because I kept getting, but it was so cold out. That was nuts.
And Mac is not a large human being, so
he got two.
He did.
Why have one when you get two?
We love you, Mac.
Oh.
We miss you, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Mac, the hotel that you stayed at is no longer there. Which is probably for the better of everybody.
There's a big condemned sign on the front.
Yeah, I drove by it today coming into town. Yeah, Mobile's changed a little bit. It's there's obviously I'm excited to go to the new stadium.
Yeah.
It's Whitney Hancock, right? Not
Hancock Whitney.
Hancock Whitney. Okay. Whitney Hancock is somebody that I knew at Cedar Point. She was a nice girl.
Verb first, then the noun. Think about it like that. Hancock
right.
Whitney.
Hancock Whitney. That's where the South Alabama plays. Malik Willis was just there. He played in the bowl game that was here.
Yep.
Played very well. So he's got a little bit of
familiarity.
Yeah, familiarity with it. So I'm fascinated to see it. I'm very open-minded on what I'm going to see this week.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I try to do. Even if I have a preconceived notion about a player, like you can dispel it this week. You can do whatever you need to do, and we will be at the practices. We will. It doesn't sound like we're going to have a lot of access to players right after practice like we have had in the past. I think there's going to be some of that.
So
they're going to try to get people out more.
Here's what we've got. So we've got sideline to sideline and end zone access for the teams or in the practices. We're going to have Riz with a camera. We're going to have Colin with a camera. And I'm going to have a camera. And we're all going to be shooting 4K video. Now, we're not going to stream that live. That's for chopping up later. And we're going to use it here at times, but we're going to use a lot of it in the lead up to the draft because this is really, really good looks at the reps that these guys are doing. It's a good opportunity to see those little details like we did last year when we did the virtual report on the Senior Bowl. Really find those details of how they're performing in the drills and things that put one guy a little above another along the way. So,
and just to do how I do practice, I focus on one position battle per day. Like there will be one day where I watch the offensive and defensive linemen in the pit, get in the pit and try to love someone, baby. And that's one day. I will spend a day where I watch the linebackers, tight ends, running backs. That sort of bleeds in with also like the safeties and defensive backs going against the wide receivers. And then there's another day where I'll just sort of take a general overview, but I will tend to focus more, especially if they're not in full pads, and they aren't always in full pads. Jim didn't really clear that up for us.
Yeah.
If they're not in full pads, you absolutely don't watch the trenches. You watch the wide receivers and the defensive backs go at it.
Right.
So that's and quarterbacks warming up is always interesting. We should be able to hear the coaching interactions that are going on. Mark Brunell is not a loud guy, so he may not be able to understand exactly what the Lions quarterback's coach will be.
Yep.
Offering directions, but
we may be able to pull him too, just through our good friend Dave Schultz at WNSP. Give them a shout out because they get great stuff. He and Mark Brunell are actually personal friends.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll have to work on that.
Mark Brunell also shares our birthday.
So we will be able to also have the side effect of evaluating and watching the coaching staff. It's really years ago is where we found Hank Fraley, where we discovered what a great teacher he is. And that's, when you think about coaching, that's one of the biggest points of being a good coach is being a good teacher. And the fact that he did so well at imparting knowledge and getting in there and showing exactly
he actually would go up and like, I want your hand here, but your finger needs to be up here, not pointed down that way. Like the little intricacies of that those of us who didn't play the position wouldn't really grasp. And he's like explaining it to him, and why you have to do it, why it's important for that.
Yeah, he was, and that so
he was good.
We really helpful.
We discovered Chris Kasurik, the defensive line coach, when Jim Schwartz had the game down here, and thank goodness that he was certainly not child friendly, but like that was another guy. He wasn't afraid to get down there and get dirty, and like aside from you got to beat his. Like on non-stop loop after every rep. That was his mantra.
Still better than Singletary. You got still better than Singletary. A stitch in time saves 9. Whoa, 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 whoa.
I hate making fun of Mike Singletary because he's a tremendous player. He was one of the greatest linebackers ever. But as a coach, oh no.
Wow.
Not all great players are made to be good coaches.
Yep.
That's something to remember.
Now,
or commentators, as Jeff Garcia has proven.
After every practice, we will have the podium. They're doing the podium interviews after the practice. We'll have those. I'm not sure that we can stream those live. I don't think we can actually, but we'll have video of all those.
We cannot.
Yeah. We'll have video from those. We'll have cuts after the fact. We'll chop that up and put it out there, and we'll also have fine audio because we're going to plug into the mult and get what we need.
Nice.
So we'll have everything there, and again, we'll use that because it's the player interviews. This is all the stuff leading to the draft and evaluation stuff. It gives us so much to work with and think about and look at with these players. So it's a big week, a lot of action coming up, a lot of interviews, a lot of football, just a lot of football, man. I love it.
I haven't seen. Well, I watched high school games, and I was at a college game, but I haven't seen like pros since training camp. I'm excited for that.
Wow, yeah.
The 2 days I went to Allen Park this fall, they were indoors, and it's more of a walkthrough situation than anything else. These are not walkthroughs. These guys are going at it. They do not tackle in reps, so that's a little frustrating. But and then when you get into the game itself, they're not allowed to blitz more than one player, and they're limited to what coverages they can run. Mm-hmm. They can only have one guy go in motion pre-snap. They can't go empty. There's a lot of different like little rules which try to keep it.
In a way, you say on one hand, you're trying to evaluate an offensive coordinator that really stinks, but you evaluate a whole bunch of other things about them. Now you have an experiment with controls.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
And you can start isolating things and seeing how different things work. So, I really kind of like everything about how they've set this up. I really do. This year's Senior Bowl, what they've added with the HBCCs, HBSCs, CU.
Historically Black College
three different,
Reggie Barlow, by the way, I'm hoping to get on here as a somebody who attended his college very briefly for grad school. Virginia State's head coach. He is on the Lions staff this week, working his way. We talked when we interviewed Jim Nagy a couple weeks ago. We talked about how he made it pretty clear that Reggie's trying to get back into the NFL, and I hope to use my Trojan status to try to get him out too.
Yeah. So I mean, they've pulled that in. They've now had the players come up, and this is like with Dan Campbell not coaching. He's evaluating his staff as well as evaluating the talent. And when we kind of just calls back to what we talked about earlier about Brad Holmes and the two of them being exactly on the same page. Yep. For him to be stepping side by side with Holmes and Campbell stepping side by side together in that field and talking about those players together.
Yep.
That's really, really going to help them out and help them with their evaluations. So that's good.
One quick logistical thing, because we talked about this last week, that Brad Holmes was going to the Shrine game. He was there until yesterday, and he came here this week for that. The Shrine game practices started Saturday. They did Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So he caught the first 2 days of that. They still do have a significant scouting presence out there. I can't go into further detail than that, but he was there for the first 2 days. He did interview some players that were out there. I can say that, and now he's here.
Now he's here.
So there you go.
All right, and we'll have more. We'll talk more, more Lions, more players, more everything. Go to Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Get your stuff. Amazon.
I need a new hat, so that's.
Ooh, good place to go. I would cover that here. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Or if you want to get a good hat, you can go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com/store.
That's right.
Good stuff there, too. All right, check that out. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I think we're going to cover it right now. Don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast.
The Slack.
Get access to the Slack where all the Chris Dust, Riz Dust, and it's all the interesting stuff
Slack.
breaks. They're doing commercials for that now. Have you seen
that.
those? Yeah.
That's my work Slack. We don't want the work Slack.
Yeah. Salesforce takes it over. They start shooting commercials.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. About a year ago.
I live in a bubble, man. I don't know what's going on in the world.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast, and at Jeff Risden. This fella. Right here at Jeff Risden. Give us a call on Skype. Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. You can leave us a message or you can call us on the Lions line. Do the same thing, 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. And be sure to go to Detroit Lions Podcast and subscribe to the podcast. Why would you do that, Riz?
So we can come into your ear holes automatically, Chris.
Ooh. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs. No problems, baby, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.